Hello everyone, it's Mike from Mike's Critters coming with another critter. This one is called a boa constrictor. It's your common boa that has been in the pet trade for an extremely long time. This is a small one, and I really don't think he's going to get very big compared to how big they can get. He was a rescue and he was not fed properly in his baby growing years, so I'm pretty positive he is stunted. So he is a snake that is in the boa family. Boas are typically what's called New World. New World is North and South America, but as we saw the other day with the Kenyan sand boa, they do come from Africa, Asia, and some of the Pacific Islands. But it is a boa constrictor, and we do have a boa that lives here in British Columbia. It's kind of rare. It's not allowed to be kept as a pet. It is called a rubber boa, and it is a member of the reptile family. Reptiles, as we've been learning, have cold blood, scaly skin, and they have a backbone. Something else that is a little bit odd for your average person learning about animals. Boa constrictors, along with several other groups of snakes, they actually don't lay eggs. They give birth to live babies. I do think some boas might lay eggs, but most give birth to live babies. And all snakes are carnivores. They need to eat other animals. A boa like this, right now at this size, it eats mice. And I usually feed it about 2 mice every feeding, about every 10 or so days. And when it was younger, it should have had a little bit smaller mice, maybe once a week in its growing kind of important years. So you can see it's got a pretty small head. Snakes typically do, and any snake in the world can swallow food up to 3 times the size of their head. I compare that to an adult swallowing something really bigger than a basketball. Totally impossible. Snakes can engulf large foods. They don't unhinge their jaws, but I'm going to say they kind of walk their food backwards. A lot of their teeth point backwards, so they can walk it backwards into their mouth because they don't have hands to shovel it in. And you notice this little guy has been sticking his tongue out a lot. Most snakes do, a lot. That is their number one way of learning. Snakes can't hear sounds and they can't smell. This one does have good sight. It can touch and sense vibrations, but it's the sense of taste is how it learns what animal is close to its body. This snake, I'm going to see if I can show you guys. It's not really too easy to see, but snakes can learn other ways. There are snakes that do have heat pits that can sense warm-bodied animals. Out in the wild, these snakes would live when they're bigger on the ground more so than up in trees, but when they're younger, they live up off the ground, so it's harder for something to find them. They might have a better chance of finding something small up in a tree, like a small bird, a mammal, a reptile, eggs. And obviously, as they get bigger, they move a little closer to the ground. As their body weight increases, it's harder for certain branches and levels of the trees to support their weight. And more bigger foods are going to be found on the ground. Number one protection for this animal is camouflage. Nobody sees you. Pretty hard to be caught or to be hunted if you're hiding out well. The snake can climb, it can swim, and it can slither fairly fast if it needs to get away. And like I said, it is one of the most commonly kept pet snakes in the world. They've been around in the pet trade for generations. Doesn't that mean it's a good choice for most people, especially due to the size it can get? Bigger it gets, you will have to adjust from stopping feeding it mice to something a lot bigger, which for some people, that might be an issue, which is totally understandable. And at one point, it was one of the 3 most commonly abandoned reptiles in BC. Iguanas, red ear slider turtles, and boas, I believe, were the top 3 abandoned ones. And that's because of that pet owner not really studying about them, understanding what they're getting into before they get into it, and having some issues that way. So hope you guys enjoyed meeting this guy, and I forgot to share his name. This is Julius Squeezer. Thanks again. We'll get another video ready for you pretty quick.